It's 2 p.m. We're on a transformation initiative Zoom call. A consultant is presenting an enterprise AI tool, and your manager casually asks us to document our exact daily workflows to train the integration. We are digging our own graves. We've all sat in that meeting. The slides are slick. The consultant speaks in polished loops about efficiency, integration, and synergies. But beneath the sterile corporate phrasing, the actual mandate is brutally simple. Write down everything you do step by step so the company no longer needs you to do it. We feel that cold drop in our stomachs because we know exactly what is happening in the room. The system is openly asking us to train our mechanical replacements, and they want us to smile while we do it. The trap snaps shut when human resources and executive leadership start pushing the company line. They tell us to embrace the future. They tell us to step up and become AI champions. They promise that if we upskill and lead the automation charge, we will prove we are indispensable in this shiny new landscape. That is a structural lie. The corporate machine does not care about our professional development. It cares about margin expansion and headcount reduction. When we map out our decision trees, write down our internal contacts, and codify our hard-earned intuition into a neat, standard operating procedure, we are handing over the keys to our livelihood. We are actively reducing our entire professional existence to a flat training dataset. And once the algorithm knows how to execute our daily tasks, our loyalty and our champion status will not save us from the next round of restructuring. But we cannot simply refuse the request. Refusal gets us fired by Friday for insubordination. Total compliance gets us fired in 6 months for redundancy. We need a third option. There is a very specific form of leverage we can use right now. We are going to weaponize the exact blind spot the algorithm cannot process. To survive the automation wave, we have to understand what the machine actually consumes to function. Generative AI thrives on structured, documented, linear processes. It is a highly efficient prediction engine, but it has a fatal, permanent flaw. It fails entirely at interpreting undocumented human nuance, office politics, and unwritten stakeholder preferences. The strategy is context hoarding. We are going to implement the human tax. Rule number 1, isolate the mechanics from the magic. The integration tool can learn the mechanical steps of our jobs perfectly. It can learn how to pull a quarterly report, how to format a client spreadsheet, or how to aggregate sales data. But it cannot learn the magic. The magic is the unwritten rules of our specific office ecosystem. For example, the software does not know that the VP of sales ignores any report that does not have the bottom line risk metrics bolded in the very first paragraph. We give the system the mechanics, we hoard the magic. Rule number 2, starve the machine of exception logic. Corporate algorithms break down the second they hit an edge case. Every single job we do involves bending compliance rules slightly to save an angry client, or knowing exactly which vendor to push hard and which one to leave alone. That exception logic is the core of our job security. When leadership asks us to map our decision trees, we only map the textbook, theoretical, happy path. We never, under any circumstances, document how we handle the exceptions. Rule number 3, enforce the final mile. Automated output only possesses financial value if it can be sent directly to the end user. If a software tool drafts a vendor contract or a pitch deck, but a human employee has to spend 20 minutes fixing the tone, adjusting the context, and massaging the politics before it goes out, the software has not replaced the human. It has merely become a highly competent digital intern. We must ensure that the final corporate product always requires our manual intervention to actually function in the real world. How do we actually execute this on Monday morning without raising suspicion? We comply with the manager's request. We smile, we agree, and we state for the record that we are happy to help document our workflows, but we write completely sterile, literal standard operating procedures If we are asked to document how we handle a complex client onboarding, we list the most basic, friction-free technical steps. Step 1, open the CRM portal. Step 2, generate the standard intake form. Step 3, email the form to the client compliance team. What we deliberately omit is the vital tacit knowledge. We do not write down that we always call the client's assistant first to gauge their mood. We do not write down that we intentionally skip Section 4 of the intake form for legacy accounts because it offends their chief financial officer. We make the documentation technically accurate but practically useless. When we send the email containing our workflow to the manager, we change the phrasing to protect ourselves. We structure the email exactly like this. Here are the standard systemic steps for the onboarding process, as requested. Note that this covers the baseline system requirements. That specific word, baseline, is our insurance policy. We did not lie, we provided the baseline. The high-level nuance stays securely in our heads. Let's take a quick pulse right here. Have you ever been asked to train a new system or an offshore team on your exact daily tasks? Answer yes or no in the comments. Next, we establish the boundary around the final review. When the AI integration goes live and starts spitting out automated work, we immediately find the subtle, contextual errors. We do not complain about the new tool, we praise it, but we insert ourselves as the mandatory quality control layer. When you are in the follow-up meeting, here are the exact words you say. The integration is doing a fantastic job drafting the baseline data. I just need to spend a few minutes adapting the tone for the regional directors before it goes out, so it aligns with our current relationships. With one sentence, we just cemented our permanent position in the workflow. Why does this specific countermove neutralize the corporate trap at a structural level? It works because it exploits a fundamental blindness in executive leadership. The C-suite views our jobs as a series of repeatable, mechanical tasks on a spreadsheet. They do not understand that the actual unquantifiable value we provide is managing the chaotic, highly irrational human element of the business. By handing them the sterile mechanical steps, we give them exactly what they think our job is. The system digests it, the consultants declare total victory, and the executives collect their bonuses for streamlining operations. But when the automated outputs start hitting the real world, things will subtly break. The automated reports will not land right. The legacy clients will feel ignored. The sales team will get deeply frustrated by the lack of nuance. The system will realize it lacks the context to function properly. Without friction, and who holds the context? We do. We become the highly paid, necessary translator between the sterile, algorithmic output and the messy, human reality. But what if they push back? What if a matrix manager confronts us and says our documentation isn't detailed enough, or that the system is failing to replicate our previous results? We have a built-in fallback path. We blame the subjective nature of the stakeholders. We look the manager in the eye and say, the standard process is fully documented right there. The variations are happening because the VP changes their operational preference week to week based on market shifts. It requires a live judgment call in the moment. We make the software look rigid. We make ourselves look adaptable. We force the company to admit that human judgment is still a mandatory requirement. This is exactly the system Sun Tzu mapped out 2,500 years ago with the scorched earth retreat. You surrender the physical territory, but you burn the crops they need to survive. It worked then, it works now. Securing our daily workflow against algorithmic replacement is only phase 1. But when the system realizes it cannot fully automate our positions, the matrix managers will pivot. They will start looking for micro paper trails and minor compliance infractions to set up a performance improvement plan, bypassing the automation issue entirely. Click on the video on your screen right now and I'll show you how to neutralize that PIP trap before human resources even opens the file. Walk the Zen path to claim your autonomy.